Alright, we have notes 9-6. Okay, solving radical equations, day 2. Alright, so the first thing we're looking at is number 1. Always our goal is to get rid of any radicals, any square roots, and be able to solve for x. Our goal on all of these guys is to solve for x and to make sure that it actually works and will be a correct solution for our problems. So on our first one, what we want to do is, they're both square roots, so just like we did on our previous 2 lessons, to get rid of square root, we do the opposite, which is we square it. Okay, when I square a square root, it just drops those radicals, and it leaves it just like it looks. 3x plus 1 equals x plus 15. Now, of course, if we're solving for x, we want to get the x's on one side and our regular numbers on the other. So I'm going to move the x across here and the 1 over here. So I've got 3x minus x equals the 15 that's already on the right side. Then 1 comes across, becomes a negative 1. So 3x minus 1x is 2x equals 15 minus 1 is 14. Now, how to solve for x? I would then divide by 2, and x would equal 7. Now, we have to check that to make sure that it works. So I'm going to put 7 back in for x into each of these and make sure that both sides balance out. Both sides have to be equal. So whatever we get on this side has to equal whatever we get on this side. So we're going to start with our original equation. 3 times x, which our x was 7, plus 1. And we want that to equal whatever is underneath the square root on this one, which is x, which is 7 plus 15. Okay, so we can either use our calculator or do simple math to do the work underneath, but that's 3 times 7 is 21, plus 1 is 22. And underneath over here, we have 7 plus 15, which is 22. Sure enough, they are equal, so 7 is my solution. Okay. Moving on to number 2. I can't have them on the same side, the radicals, meaning the square root, so I have to move it across. So I'm going to move this guy across, so a minus becomes a plus. So I have square root of x plus 3 equals 1, which is already over there. Move that guy across, it becomes a plus square root of x minus 2. Okay, now I'm ready to get rid of those square roots by squaring each side. Okay, so I'm going to square this side, and I'm going to square this side. Remember, when I have 2 things, I label them from my equation. The equation was a squared plus or minus 2 times a times b plus b squared. Okay? So that's the formula that we use with this guy. This is my a, this is my b. So over here, when I square root, it just drops it. X plus 3 equals, over here, a squared, so that's 1 squared. And it is a plus, so I use plus 2 times a, which is 1, times b, which is square root of x minus 2. And then plus b squared, so that would be square root of x minus 2 all squared. Okay, just like the day before. Now we clean it up. I have x plus 3 equals 1 squared is 1. 2 times 1 is 2 square root x minus 2. And then when I square a square root, it just drops it off. So this would be a plus x minus 2. Okay? Now I want to get everything, keep the radical on one side, move everything else to the other side. Okay, so I'm going to move this guy across, move this guy across, and move this guy across. So I have x plus 3. I brought the 1 across, it becomes a minus 1. I brought the x across, becomes a minus x. I brought the negative 2 across. It becomes a plus 2. Equals, I can't move that 2 because it's linked with the radical, with the square root, because it's multiplied. 2 square root x minus 2 has to be left on this side. Cleaning it up. X minus x, they cancel off. Okay, 3 minus 1 is 2, plus 2 is 4, equals 2 times x minus 2. How do I get rid of times? I divide by 2. Divide by 2. They cancel off, leaving me square root of x minus 2 equals 4 divided by 2 is 2. How do we get rid of the square root? We square it. We square both sides. And whatever you do to one side, you have to do to the other. 2 squared is 4 equals, squaring a square root just causes it to drop. Solving for x, so I move that negative 2 across, it becomes a positive 2 over here. So 2 plus 4 is 6 equals x. So we think x is our answer, but we have to check it in our calculator. Okay, so with that being said, I'm going to plug 6 back in for x in my calculator, hit enter, and hope it equals 1. So I'm going to have square root 6 plus 3 minus square root 6 minus 2, and hope it equals 1. So here we go, we crank up our calculator, and I'm going to go square root 6 plus 3, move out from under there, minus square root 6 minus 2, and hit enter, and sure enough, it is 1. Okay, so 1 equals 1. So our solution is x equals 6. Okay, moving on to number 3. Okay, on number 3. Alright, same deal. It's already set up for me. We're ready to square both sides. Okay, so I've got the radicals, the square roots on 2 separate sides, which is what we want. We always want them on 2 separate sides. So we're going to square this side, and we're going to square this side. Notice I've got 2 different ones, so I have to label them A and B. Okay, when I square a square root, it drops it. 3x plus 4 equals A squared, so that would be square root x plus 1 all squared, plus or minus, and since it's a plus, I'm going to put plus, 2 times A, which is square root x plus 1, times B, which is 1, and then plus B squared, which is 1 squared. Okay, now we're ready to clean it up. We've got 3x plus 4 equals, when I square a square root, it just drops it, x plus 1. And then 2 times square root of x plus 1 times 1, so that's 2 times 1 is 2. Square root x plus 1. And then plus 1 squared is 1. Okay, again, we want the radical, the square root, by itself, so we're going to leave this over here, move everything else to the other side. So I'm moving everything else across. So I've got 3x plus 4 that was already there. I brought the x across, became a negative x. I brought the 1 across, became a negative 1. And I brought this 1 across, it became a negative 1. Equals, what was left over? 2 square root x plus 1. Clean up our like terms. 3x minus x is 2x. 4 minus 1 is 3, minus 1 is 2. Equals 2 times x plus 1. How do I get rid of the times? Divide by 2. Divide by 2 on everything. They cancel off. Those cancel off. And leaves me x, 2 over 2 is 1. equals square root of x plus 1. Now, how did we get rid of square roots? We square it. So I have to square this side. Remember, there's two things. So a and a b. So a squared, that's x squared, plus or minus, and since it's a plus, we use plus. 2 times a, which is x, times b, which is 1. Okay, and then plus b squared, which is 1 squared, equals, this side was square root squared, so it just drops. And now we clean it up. X squared, 2 times x is 2x, times 1 is 2x. 1 squared is 1, equals x plus 1. Now we're back to like we did yesterday when we were finding zeros. I want it to all equal 0. That's our easiest way to do it. So if I move everything across, now I've got x squared plus 2x plus 1 minus the x I brought across, minus the 1 I brought across, but all equals 0. You can plug it in just like that, or you can clean it up and reduce that stuff and combine like terms. So I'd have x squared, and I'd have 2x minus 1x would give me 1x, and then 1 minus 1 is 0. But you don't have to, I'm still looking for a root of 0. Okay? So let's go and find that by just plugging that in to our calculator and graphing it. So here we go, we crank up our calculator, go to our graph, clear, and we'll always graph anytime there's an x squared that I can't get rid of, and then we set it equal to 0. So I have x squared plus 2x plus 1 minus x minus 1. We're going to graph it, let it do its thing. I can see that if I zoomed in, it crossed twice. So there's going to be 2 different possible answer solutions. So I'm going to actually zoom fit. Let's do zoom fit first and see if that'll give us a better view. And obviously it makes it more distorted. So let's go back to that original zoom and let's go standard number 6. And it gives us our regular window back. And now we want to box in the area that we want to see. So zoom box is number 1. And we can take our little spider guy, and we're going to take it out here so we know it's clearly going to cover it all. Arrow over, so I hit that enter button, and then I arrowed over. Don't hit enter. Don't hit enter again until you've done your whole box. Now hit enter, and it'll only draw my boxed area. So see, I can clearly see now it crossed twice. So let's find the first one, the first 0. Second trace, number 2 for 0. Move my little spider over to it says left bound, so I am clearly to the left of that 0. Hit enter, right bound, move it clearly to the right, hit enter, guess, hit enter, and it tells me -1. So one answer choice is x equals -1. Let's check the other one. Second trace, number 2 for zeros, says left bound. Okay, I am clearly on the left, hit enter. Clearly on the right, hit enter, guess, hit enter. And it tells me -4.41 is another answer choice on that. However, with that being said, anytime it's e to the -15 or e to any kind of power, we know, as we learned in our previous times of finding 0, that this is actually 0. Okay, anytime it's something to the e to the whatever power in these calculators, that would be 0. So it's actually crossing right at the origin. So our 2 answer choices are -1 and 0. So now we're going to go check them. Okay, we're going to plug in -1 into this side, see if and the x on this side, and see if both sides balance out. Okay, if both sides balance out, let me go back up here, then we know we did it right. So we're going to try -1 first into our original equation. So here we go. Square root not x, sorry. Square root 3 times negative 1, so that is our x now, plus 4, that's underneath. We want it to equal square root, x is negative 1 plus 1, and then get out from underneath it, plus 1. We want this side to equal that side. So let's try this side over here and see what it's worth. Second quit. Alright, just like it looks. Second, square root 3, parentheses, negative 1, close them, plus 4, hit enter, and it tells me 1. So this side is 1 equals, let's do this other side now. Okay, so second square root, negative 1 plus 1, move out from underneath, plus 1, hit enter, and it is 1. So we know one solution is definitely negative 1. So I went ahead and wrote it up there. Now let's try plugging 0 in, same way. So I've got square root 3 times 0 plus 4. We want to see if it equals square root of 0 plus 1 and plus 1. Second, square root 3 parentheses 0, close it, plus 4, hit enter, and it says 2. Let's see if the other side will equal 2. So second square root 0 plus 1, move out from underneath, plus 1, hit enter, and it equals 2. So it works as well. So both of those are answers. Okay, and let's try number 4. Same thing, cannot have our two square roots, can't have them on the same side. So I've got to move this one across. This guy here is moving across. So I've got square root 2x minus 2 equals 1. Now minus becomes a plus, square root x plus 6. Okay, square both sides. When I square this side, it's a single square root over here, so it just drops it. 2x minus 2. This side has two different parts, so a and a b. So I use my little formula. So a squared, that's 1 squared, and plus 2 times a, which is 1, times b, which is square root of x plus 6. Close them. And then plus b squared, square root x plus 6 squared. Okay, now we clean it up. We have 2x minus 2 equals 1 squared is 1. 2 times 1 is 2. Square root x plus 6. Over here I have square root of a square, so it just drops it. So plus x plus 6. Now I see that I have a square root left and there's a 2 attached to it, so I'm going to move everything else to the other side. So everything else has got to go. Okay, so I got 2x minus 2 equals, that 1 crosses becomes a minus 1. The x crosses becomes a minus x. 6 becomes a minus 6. Equals 2 square root x plus 6. Clean up this side. 2x and minus x would be just x, or 1x. Negative 2 minus 1 is negative 3. Minus 6 more would be minus 9. Equals 2 square root x plus 6. Okay, now we're going to square both sides. Okay, there's two parts over here, so I have an a and a b. So a is x squared plus or minus, so it's a minus 2 times a, which is x, times b, which is 9, plus b, which is 9, is outside. Okay, so since the 2 is outside, it's 2 squared is 4. What's underneath just drops. And it's a pair of these, so it has a drop in the parentheses, x plus 6. So I've got to distribute now. But let's clean up this side a little bit. So we have x squared. Negative 2 times x is negative 2x. Times 9 is negative 18x. And then 9 squared is 81 equals 4 times x is 4x. 4 times 6 is 24. Now, I see an x squared there. Can't solve that, guy, so I want to set it all equal to 0 and graph it and find my zeros. So I got to move everything over to get it to be equal to 0. So I've got x squared minus 18x plus 81 minus 4x minus 24 equals 0. You can plug it in just like that, or if you want to combine the like terms now, it'll give you the same answer. It's up to you. So I'm going to clean it up just a bit. So that's x squared, and I have negative 18 minus 4 more is negative 22x. I have 81 minus 24. 81 minus 24 is 57 equals 0. I'm going to plug that in my calculator into the graph. So clear x squared, what was it, minus 22x plus 57, graph it, and you see that because I zoomed in for the last one, so I'm going to hit zoom standard number 6 just to get back to my regular window. And I still see that I'm going to have to zoom out more because I know this is a parabola because it was x squared. So zoom, let's go zoom fit just to get a look at what it's supposed to look like. And then I must have put something in wrong. Let's check it. Y equals, yep, I did. That is supposed to be a minus 22 graph. Okay, zoom fit. So sometimes we just have to play with them until we get it on to where it needs to look like. And I see that it's going down, it's going to go back up eventually over here. So I've got to zoom out. So zoom out, number 3. And I'm going to move my little guy over here because I want over on this side of the graph. Hit enter. And I see, yes, it does cross twice. Okay, so second trace, we want to find our zeros. Let's find that first one. So I am clearly on the left side of that x-intercept, hit enter. Clearly on the right side, hit enter. Guess, hit enter. And it tells me one of them is 3. So x equals 3. Now let's check this other one. Second trace, number 2. I am clearly on the left side, hit enter. Clearly on the right, hit enter. Guess, hit enter. And that 0 is 19. So I have 2 possible solutions. We have to check them both into our original equation, 3 and 19. So here we go. We're going to put them into the regular. I'm going to use 3 first. And I want it to equal 1. So we have square root of 2 times 3 minus 2 minus square root 3 plus 6. We want it to equal 1. So let's check it out. So we go to our calculator and we type in just like it looks. 2 parentheses 3 close them minus 2 move out minus square root 3 plus 6 hit enter and it equals negative 1. So negative 1 does not equal 1. So 3 is not an answer choice. So I can go ahead and scratch them off. So let's try 19. So we have square root 2 times 19 minus 2 minus square root 19 plus 6. We want it to equal 1. So we take our calculator. Square root 2, parentheses, 19 minus 2. Move out from under there. Minus square root 19 plus 6. We're going to hit enter and hope it equals 1. And sure enough, it does. So 1 equals 1. So 19 works. So you're going to do on A 9-6, you're going to do numbers. Let's do number 1, 2, 1, 2, and 6 and 7. 6, 7, and tell you what, that will be plenty. That will keep us busy right there. And this concludes the notes for 9-6.